Anyway, you don't have to be. We're at 5 o'clock right now. There you are. How's college life going?
Pretty good.
You know what? And Arav, you're there, yes?
Yeah.
Am I saying your name properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where are you?
I'm in Texas,
In Texas. Great.
North
Well,
Texas.
uh, tough one there for the Cowboys. Are you a Cowboys guy or something?
I've been sitting off that
Okay.
for the last. I'm waiting for Dak to leave. I like the
Oh
Lions
boy.
right now. I've been bandwagoning the last couple of years because of the
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Well, he's been an effective QB, but they're
Yeah.
definitely struggling this year. Well, here we are at 5 o'clock, so I'm just going to get started. And Christy, if your son jumps on as well, that's great. If he wants to arrive,
Yeah.
and so I really appreciate you guys coming on. What I'll do here is I'm going to share my screen, and basically I record this and we turn it into sort of an episodic thing. But if you have questions or you've got comments along the way, um, feel free to jump in. It's not a big deal. So, and I've got the Packers score up there for. I'm in Wisconsin. Dominic's in Wisconsin. Christy's in Wisconsin. I
Oh,
don't know. It looks like Dominic is a Packers fan. He's got the jersey, um, and I am a Packers fan. I was on the Packers briefly, but got cut, and I don't hold anything against them. It's been a long time ago. So anyway, I think it's halftime, so we'll push through this, and we're going to try to keep it to 30 minutes, and then jump out of here and get back to doing what you want to do. So, without further ado, one of the things that I want to jump into and what I try to do on each of these episodes is to kind of cover somebody that's popular or an NFL player and break down their technique a little bit. I'm going to get into destroying. I don't know. Do you guys know who this guy is?
yep.
Chris, have you ever heard that? You probably,
Yeah.
Robin and Dominic have. Destroying is a guy named Donald Delahaye. And what's interesting about Donald is he's actually one of the most crucial guys that got the whole NIL name, image, likeness thing changed because he was a kicker, scholarship kicker at Central Florida, who had to he had to make the awful choice of give up his YouTube channel or give up his scholarship.
Oh, jeez.
Back when players really couldn't make any money off of their fame and fortune and that sort of thing. And Donald was one of the first guys who really started to build a platform. And ultimately, he chose to be the YouTuber guy and gave up his scholarship. And I think what made him one, he's a good-looking guy. He's personable. He's built for the TV kind of thing. And he's a really good kicker. The problem that he faced and faces, he always wanted to try to get to the NFL, like so many of us have our dreams to get there. And so when he gave up his scholarship, he still tried to pursue being an NFL kicker. And it may be the one key thing that sort of acted as undoing, because there's a certain path to get there. And his certainly was going to be unconventional. Certainly got the leg for it. So one of the things I want to do is I'll just jump right in right now and just play a little bit of this. I wanted to touch base on a couple of things. And so this is a iMovie kind of thing. Actually, let me go back here and I'll move this. And you'll notice how many subscribers he's got. I don't know if you can see that. 6.1 million subscribers. So Donald's making a pretty good living as a YouTuber. And it's interesting on some of these things that the guys that have gone back, he goes back 5-6 years of doing YouTube videos, and he was everything from doing kicking to 7-on-7 to 1-on-1 to the life of a college guy to crazy stuff all over the place. So, but he's really quite a good kicker. And so what I wanted to show is very quickly here. So this is like typical of Donald Delahaye. So here's this guy. He's and he's typical for doing these big giant boomer kicks. And I don't know if this, hopefully the video is clear, but that's legitimate. Sometimes you get guys who say they're kicking 60 yarders and they're not really at 60. These are legit, although I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a fair amount of wind here. He's definitely got wind aided. He's got his girlfriend out there, and now he's going to try an 80-yard field goal. The max in the NFL is 66. And he's banging this thing. He's using the wind as much as he can, but this is quite a boot. And I think one of the other things with Donald that's kind of interesting, impressive, is for a guy who is a big talker and a showboat, he also shows these misses. He also shows sort of a human side of things. I think that has made people like him that much more. And here, I'll be darned if he doesn't make an 80-yard kick. He cheats to do it.
This is a hard beat. You gotta just keep trying. Getting close to that last one, bro. I think we got a more line drive. We can't put it up in the air because it's gonna do this. We line drive it.
So again, he's got the sad music. His girlfriend's telling him, nope, it's not there.
I'm gonna try this one.
So here's his cheat. You're going to take a couple of steps and a kind of a baby kickoff, and this makes it over the bar.
How y'all know I'm committed is this.
So that shows you kind of the leg, and it's like, well, this is a guy who's got the leg for the NFL, so why doesn't he make it? And the challenge is, once you get to that NFL level, it's not so much about how you kick or how far you can kick. It's all in your head as far as how accurately and with the kind of pressure. It's one thing to be on a YouTube channel with the wind with you in perfect conditions and your girlfriend cheering you on, and you can do whatever you want. And now to go with 80 or 90,000 people, half of them booing you. And if you're playing in Green Bay today, here you can see I've got the score here. It's still actually started the third quarter. It's 17-3, and it's for for guys who are watching this who are not from Wisconsin. Today in Wisconsin, it is rainy and cold and windy and bad and ugly. Trying to make these kicks is tough. So one of the things I wanted to show you is, so Donald was serious enough about this to try to make it, and I just play a little bit of this. He went to see a guy who's a good friend of mine.
Gary Zauner, and got a kicking workout in as well.
So he went to see a friend of mine, Gary Zauner, who's down in Arizona, and is probably
I like the way you warmed up with the soccer ball. But when you were doing that, what were you working on?
So he is one of the most, so this is the picture you've seen on me and my channel is actually Gary and I. This is at Whitefish Bay High School in Wisconsin. He comes up here and teaches a few kids up here and then goes back down to Arizona. And the big shot guys will come down and pay him a bunch of money to take a look at him and really get very close to it. The thing that I know, Gary, is because my father started this whole kicking camp stuff back in 1971. Gary was actually a college counselor. He was a kicker and punter at La Crosse, the D3 school here in Wisconsin. And he was a good kicker and punter. And he was never a pro guy, but he became a pro special teams coach for so many of the different teams and gained a great deal of knowledge that way. He's probably the most knowledgeable kicking coach in the country. And so I just wanted to show, so here's Donald going to see Gary. And I just want to give you a little taste of what Gary does.
Yeah.
I'll think about everything else.
Well, you don't think about anything else. It's a soccer ball. Donald's definitely got talent. So now it's a matter of putting in the hard work and getting the same swing and being as proficient as a Brandon Aubrey, a Matt Gay. One thing I tried to get him to do, Donald, I tried to get him to kick this like this. Brandon Aubrey was a soccer player, so was Matt Gay. They kick this without thinking, so I'm trying to get him to kick this without thinking. One step, left, right, start toed out, step toed out, hit it, say eyes. And how easy is it to walk down? Now, see, you're pretty much wearing out the spot with your kicking leg. So balls are going to go straight. All right, Skip. Now, yep.
So what's neat about what you see there, I'm not going to play too much of that, but so Gary, like me, like probably the guys at Coles and guys at other camps, we're all teaching a lot of the same kind of stuff. Some of us use different drills. Gary and I are probably a little more old school on some of this stuff, but you can see that the swing that Donald has there is just so effortless and so light. But I wanted you to see one quick thing in this training. So Gary films them, and I film guys when I do one-on-one sessions, and then he takes them into.
This is kind of a crunch forward. You see that? If you look.
So here's the thing. So some of you guys, Rav and Dominic and Barrett, you probably all heard me at different times say, that you're crunching. And so the crunch is this. So you can see in that picture over on the left is Donald coming through. I think this was from an older video that he had worked on. And so Donald's been trying to be taller in his swing. So many of us kickers are taught to keep our head down and to stay down. And the trick is, it's almost impossible not to look at the ball when you kick it. And so you want to be on top of the ball, but if you stay crunched, you can see that shape instead of being leaning back a little bit where more of your hips and more of your back gets into the kick, you could actually get more power and you'll probably get more consistency and a little less effort. When you go into that crunch mode, it almost invites a mistake. Let me show you something Gary shows him
Look
here.
at yourself compared to him. See, his hip can come up. Going through the ball. Now, even though his left arm is a little,
See how much
across his
taller he
body,
is?
but just look at his torso.
That's Brandon
Look at his
Aubrey.
head. See, his head's going up. Your head is kind of going forward. So you're kicking more in a driving phase, and he's lifting them up.
I would like to say I'm a great kicker. Obviously, there's things to improve on, but Coach Zauner is breaking me down all the way. Like, he's telling me I'm a cruncher. I should eliminate my crunch. Basically, my body is going down like this when I kick. He likes to compare me to a pecking chicken.
Okay, so give me your leg. Okay, there you go. Now, come here. Okay, now lift your leg. There you go. So
Ain't going nowhere.
well, you can't finish.
So that's, I wanted to show you that in Deestroying and how he's, struggling with some of the same stuff and where we're going to go from there. So, oh, rats. And for Packer fans, we're not doing so good. It's 24-3. Maybe we just need to let that, I'm not helping the Packers out there by showing the score. So what I also wanted to show then is, and I'll use one of my competitors, right? So here's Cole's Kicking. They're the biggest kicking camps in the country. And some of you guys have probably been to them. This is one of their combine kickoff competitions of a kickoff, which is really where we see that crunch a lot. And so what I wanted to show is just a couple of kickers here who can really bang the ball. These are some of the best guys in the country, at least at that time. This is a few years ago. Doesn't really matter. But I want to break it down and show you a little bit. So here's a kid from going to college at Nevada. Don't know where he is. Obviously not setting the pros on fire. All right, boom. So we hit this. So let me take this back. I just want to show you something. That's a 71-yard kick with like a 4-second hang time. Let me go back here. So one of the things that you'll see here is, again, why can a kickoff produce so much more distance than your field goal is, so here's his last step. Look at that last step is almost where we start typically on a field goal. And he's going to drive and he's going straight to the ball and he's going to let his hip turn happen once his foot plants. So great, look at that, just tremendous stride, great flexibility. There's a lot of power that's going to come through here. And if he can hold that foot, look at his foot position is just nice and solid and now all the way down to the ball. But as soon as we get to the ball, so here he's got a pretty good line, but you can see his head is down. But watch what happens after. So now as he goes after, see that crunching position? So for a lot of us, that's what we get into, and you don't really want that. It's actually, that's what Gary just talked to Donald about. I mean, it's a great hit. There's nothing he can do now to affect the outcome of this ball, but seeing that he's crunched now tells the coach that there was some of the whip of your butt and of your back that you didn't get into this ball because his energy is still going into the ground. But if you watch him, he's going to skip through. He's not going to stay planted. So this ball is going, but you see him coming off the ground. Boy, he's got tremendous energy. And some guys do this, right? Where you're going to come off the ground and actually land on your kicking foot. I didn't. I actually landed on my plant foot. I don't know that one is better than the other. This suggests that you're getting a lot of power into it. But if I let this play, you can see, boy, a lot of height, a lot of great distance. That's a 75-yard ball right there. So that's pretty neat. All right. And if we go to, let's just pick somebody else here. Let's just see how this guy does. So slow attack, boom, hits, great height.
Ball by Emmett.
Little less.
71, 4.46.
71,446 for that guy. So as a college player, 70. So again, so in the pros, and these guys all want to make it to that level. Now we got this new dynamic kickoff, so the rules have all changed. But in terms of what they want to see, so they want to see Donald Delahay's leg of an 80-yard leg. That's really impressive. And this is impressive from these guys. And as a high schooler, if you can get to be a 60-yard guy, that's really impressive because it's an instant touchback. And that's great. And if you're not, then we've got to be smarter and cagey about things. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of that. One more thing I'm going to show, and then I'm going to talk to each of you guys so we make sure we've got enough time for you. I happen to find this video of the Eagles kicking group. And if you haven't seen this is really excellent. I mean, it's really, really good. And I show it both for, and so you want to show this video to your coach, to a special teams coach, to the head coach. This is really good stuff because it kind of breaks it down. And so I'll just let them go through it. But what's neat is sometimes as the kicker, you've got to be the guy that helps your holder along, helps your snapper along. And these are all good pointers. Now, they talk about a 1.3 time to kick from the snap to the hold to the kick is 1.3 seconds in the pros. In high school, I like to see it at 1.5 or better. College, about 1.4 or better. Some guys have heard 1.27 and all that kind of stuff. If you can get off at about 1.3, then we're doing pretty good. If it's longer than 1.5 seconds, we're asking the line to do a lot more work. And so that's just kind of the trick of that stuff. So let's take a quick look at about a minute or so of this.
I treat it as a free throw. My feet are always in the same position. I
snapper treats it like a free throw.
Same spot every single time. My heel's usually right at the end of the hatch. I don't want to be rotated this way, and I don't want to be over rotated that way. Always having a straight back.
Notice he cheats. He picks up the ball. You're not supposed to do that, but that's a-okay.
My job as the holder is to receive the ball. As you can see, most of the time Rick is pretty much perfect, but it's my job if any weather conditions or anything else come up, if it's a little bit of low snap, high snap, whatever, get the ball down in the same spot.
Snapper's job is to put the laces in the right spot.
Get the laces pointed towards the middle of the uprights for Jake, and the lean is going to be a little bit forward and a little bit sideways. So if those things go well, then we should have a great kick down the middle.
As high schoolers, if I can get the ball on the tee, I'm happy.
Spot that I feel good about. Make sure there's no divots around or anything like that. Take 3 steps back. Line up exactly where I want that ball to go. Find a target behind the upright. Take 2 steps over.
This is Jake Elliott.
One more look back down at Braden where my spot is exactly. So I find my line. Visualize where that ball is going to go through.
He's got a little bit of lean on his front.
Down.
Some guys are standing steady. Really attacks it. Notice that as he goes through. Right? What I liked about that, when you've heard me in camps and other things, is again, so here, so I'm going to stop that. So he takes a jab step, A-okay, or whether you're a two-stepper, that's okay. A really great drive step. A lot of us get really soft on this step. You can see there's a lot of energy and power that he wants to put into it. His hips haven't turned yet. The ball is down. Look how much time he's got to actually visualize and see the ball. That's a really good snapper. That's a really good holder. In high school, if you only had that, wouldn't that be something? Sometimes you don't get to see the ball much, right? So now he's going to drive into it. You can see here, great plant. His foot is basically plant. The truth of it, we say that his plant foot is going right to the target. The truth of it is at the pro level, it's actually moving just a little to the right. It's probably just a little inside this inside post right here. So where this is going, but he's still visualizing everything straight down the pipe, and his shoulders, even though he's going to take a hop, Dominic, you'll like this. You'll be like, hey, wait a second, he took my hop. Not as far as you go. He's going to take a little hop left, but you'll see that he hangs on to his shoulders solidly. Boom, really solid through this, right? Now you could say, is that a crunch? His head is down. Gary Zauner would be saying, it's okay to bring this head up to get a little bit more shoulder and a little bit more back into it. And so, it's ultimately, it's what you feel the most comfortable with. And Jake can kick it 50, 60 yards. But you'll see here as he goes through, he's moved left, but you can see he's really fighting to keep those shoulders square and his head right on target, and that ball is locked on. That's pretty neat. Okay, so that's that guy. I wanted to.
Something went wrong. Please try
I
again.
wanted to. Phone calls happening here. Let me go back to my YouTube page, and since we've got, I've invited all you guys, and everybody who's on Kicking School is invited to come on here, but I've invited Barrett. Barrett, where's your face?
He's coming right back. He
There
just
we
went to
go.
go. He just went to go grab something.
All right, we wanted him to come back. So Christy and
Yeah.
Barrett, I'm gonna, they don't know this, but I'm gonna take you. So if you've been to my YouTube channel, there's lots of different things in there. But Barrett is one of the guys that I gave a couple of one-on-one lessons, 2-3 one-on-one lessons to. So he's in here some.
Come on, have a seat.
And what to me is really neat about Barrett's story, and so that's why I want to get Barrett back in here, is Barrett is a senior, so at KLM, which is
Hope he can see you or not.
Lutheran. That's okay if we can hear you. We want to know that you actually, hey, he actually exists. There you go. So Barrett, if you would be so kind here, is to tell just a little bit about your own story to be a kicker. What were you doing last year as a junior? What made you choose to do what you did here as a senior? And tell me what happened during the season, if you could.
Last year I was just a receiver and a D-back. I didn't play that much. And then our kicker last year, well, he was our starting running back and our starting middle linebacker, so he didn't really want to kick. So over the summer, I just kind of kicked for fun, like at our summer workouts. We had captain's practices, and I just kind of kicked for fun. And I thought I was pretty decent, so I stuck with it, and then tried to see if I could get good at it, and then I ended up being the starting kicker. And I
started kicker this year. So the first time that it wasn't the first time you were on the varsity team, but the
junior
first
year.
that you as a senior. And how'd you do this year?
I don't know the exact number, but I was 90% from PATs.
Yep.
I made my only field goal.
That's great.
And then I was second team all conference.
Second team all conference, first time coming out as a senior.
And there's some D3 teams and a D2 team in our conference, and we're D4. So
yeah,
some pretty good competition too.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I'm so proud of you to do that. And for Barrett, and let me just ask you very quickly, again, unscripted. So one, Christy and Barrett, how did you even find me, and how did we get together in the first place?
I asked my mom how we found you. That was her.
I did some Google searching on kicking camps, and of course they had already happened, because by the time Barrett came back from summer camp, school was already underway. Yep. And so you can thank Google.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad that I was found, and it just so happened that I'm about 8 miles away from.
And you were local. And you were responsive to your email very quickly.
Well, there we go. So what I want to show here is I'm going to show just a little bit of the one-on-one stuff that we did. Actually, what I want to do here is I think I've got the first time. So the very first evaluation was here. And so here's, before I'd even worked with Barrett, here's Barrett's form at his school.
Sticks right in kind of that soccer pass swipe. So we worked on getting
So on everybody that I have come in here, I show some drills, we do some stuff, we do some video. And so I could see that Barrett could kick the ball pretty well. And what I was concerned with Barrett was, you know, as you see this, if you were the coach, right? The neat thing here is, so Barrett's got a great approach. He's got a good step here. And locks out pretty well, not as far as what we just saw on this. But you can see where Barrett's head is up here. It's not so much of a crunch. That's great. But the thing that Barrett would do is it's like he would hit his plant and just stop. It's like you can see there's so much more energy. There's so much more power that Barrett could put into this. So now if we go back to a couple of sessions later, I think Barrett wanted to work on kickoffs.
This week. I like what you're doing, but you had complained that you're getting mishits.
And you can see there's a mishit right there, right? You can see that's kind of just a flub ball, not a bad hit in the game. It'd almost be like a squib, but it's not the kick that he wanted. So one of the drills that we can use, you saw Gary Zauner had the soccer ball out there, whether you're a soccer player or not. I was not. Barrett, were you a soccer player?
No.
No, so Barrett's not a soccer player. But when you, so I had,
and so this first
I was concerned that
as you
Barrett
there,
swinging true
so we diddle
on this, that sometimes because there's so many steps, the kickoff is the hardest kind of kick, that you're trying to get this perfect hit, and it's really hard to do. So if you put a soccer ball out there, because it's round, there's really no bad spot on the ball. So watch what happens when the first time that
which is a great
Barrett
thing
kicks off.
every once in a while.
Boom,
be able
you
to
can tell that's a really good hit. Because his brain isn't thinking, and that was the point on the Gary Zauner thing. He's trying to teach Donald, how do I kick that football like I kick a soccer ball? So much, the soccer ball kickers typically are kicking so effortlessly and so easy. And that's kind of what has to happen. And so now this guy for the Cowboys, so Rav, don't get rid of your kicker. You might want to get rid of Dak, but don't get rid of your kicker.
Oh yeah.
Brandon Aubrey was this, but like Donald, Brandon Aubrey was a pro soccer player who didn't make it as a pro soccer player. His wife said, watching a game, I think you could do that. He ends up making his way back into the pros. And last year he was a 28-year-old rookie. And the very first kick that he had in the pros, he misses. And I'll be darned, from there, he went 35 field goals in a row of not missing, which is what every kicker dreams about doing, right? So, so that's kind of the neat stuff. Are you muted? And Arav, if you're there.
Yep.
Are you still kicking and playing, Arav? Are you in playoffs?
I'm actually on the JV, so I think we had our last game. We don't have a game for next week, so if they find one, that would be the last one.
Okay, so give me just a quick little rundown for yourself. How has it gone this season?
It's going not the best because January I injured my hand, like my hip adductor, and my rectus femoris, like the quad.
Yep.
So I was out for 5 months. So my first day back kicking was the first day of actual practice. So I kicked. My PATs have been pretty good. I think I've only missed like 1 or 2. And
Okay.
it was
Yep.
actually the only ones I've missed are on the holder. If he dropped it, I kicked a flat ball, literally a flat ball, so many times.
Yeah.
Or the
So,
line.
and you realize though, Rav, that it's never their fault. It's always
Yeah, it's on. Yeah. But they don't like to work on it, so.
Well, and that's a tough one. And so what I would say to you in that is, in this, and what year are you in school?
Junior.
Junior. So in the off season here, whenever you can, whether it takes bribing them with cheeseburgers or whatever it is, can you get a snapper and holder to get out there? Because your career is going to be better if they're better at it. And so
That's exactly what I was thinking.
yeah.
Cause
So what you want to do is, if they're, I mean, if they're buddies of yours, that's great. If they're not buddies, then you might need to do a little bribing. Not that Coach Farley's saying you got to spend money, but you got to
I know what you mean.
you got to
Yep.
find a way to make it worth their while. And helping them. So the quick thing to kickers, and Dominic might know this, is the best thing you can tell your snapper is that he's got to keep his butt down. Basically, for a snapper, he needs to fart a strike. So if his butt is facing where the holder is, where most snappers go wrong is they lift their butt too high, and you get high snaps. And so holder, like this video with the Eagles thing, that he can start to see, wait a second, my back knee is up. There's a block. I want you to use, are you using a block?
A half inch, yes.
Okay. So to me, you've got every right to use up to a 2-inch block. If I'm a high school kicker and I realize down in Texas, football is close to religion down there.
Yep.
But I told, now Barrett, if you saw over there, did you use a 2-inch block, Barrett?
Sorry, the dogs are loud.
Yes,
It's okay.
yes,
Did you use a 2-inch block?
Yeah, we were on a grass field, so I couldn't.
Barrett's field is like the jungle. And so using a 2-inch tee, if you've got turf, then yep, moving maybe down to a 1 or ½ inch. But I've had some kickers in camp who are high school guys who are not using a block, and I think it's a terrible mistake. At the very least, use the ½ inch block, if not for you, for your holder, and put a little dot on it. Take some of your sister's nail polish and put a little hole, put a little right in the middle to give that holder every chance in the world to put that ball on the tee. And the other thing, around that you can do is when you're practicing, practice some, especially in the off season, some terrible holds. The laces are facing against you. The ball is sideways on the tee. Is there any way that you can still make the kick? It's a PAT. You don't need a lot of leg. Can you see what's happening? And so it isn't your fault. In essence, you saved the day. And the thing I tell my holders and snappers is the default is we're kicking this ball. So one of the drills I had Barrett do, one of the drills I've had Dominic do, is do a 1-step drill. You basically do your field goal steps, but now just go from your plant and take the biggest step you could possibly make, and then maybe a little bit more, and flip-flop your stance so that you're basically going to move from just that right foot, let's say if you're right-footed kicker, to your plant foot, to your left foot, just a 1-step kick. What you'll start to find is do that a number of times and just make great contact. The benefit is you'll start to realize, hey, how far can I make a 1-step field goal? Most guys can make a PAT, maybe even 30 yards. Some guys can make a 40, 50-yard kick. So it's not the distance. Now the ball is bobbled, but the guy if he can still get it on the tee, if he thinks he can still get on the tee, I can adjust my steps quickly and do a 1-step kick, and we can still kick this. If the guy has bobbled it so badly that he's not going to get it, that's where the holder does fire and we all go crazy and we try to get the points however we can. But those are kind of the things. I'll just tell one real quick story. I had an older brother who was a fantastic golfer. He was actually the Wisconsin State amateur champion golfer. And he was as steady Eddie kind of guy. He would made a great kicker. He never made mistakes. But golf, you play so many shots, and every once in a while, you get yourself into trouble, into the sand trap, behind a tree, and all that stuff. And my father was classic for, if you dug and Mom, you'll appreciate this to your kids. It's like when you know that you've dug a hole, and this is parental advice, when you've dug a hole and you recognize you're in a hole, then get out of the hole. Just get out of the hole. Don't keep digging, right? Don't make it worse. And so in golf, I was caddying for my brother in like a tournament, and he's like right behind a tree. And so I know what my father would have told him is, you know, just take your lumps, chip out, and then chip it onto the green. And my brother, so I'm like, I'm ready to give him the, you know, little 9-iron chip out behind the tree. I'm like, oh, it's too bad. He's like, you know what? Give me a 7-iron. I'm like, what? He's like, just give me a 7-iron. He takes the 7-iron, he turns it over the wrong way, and he whacks it and purposely skulls it and slices it, and it goes around the tree and onto the green. And I'm like, when would you have ever learned to do something so crazy? He's like, you do realize how many shag balls I hit every, you know, he hits like 1,000 shag balls a day. So, you know, when you're out there kicking by yourself, every once in a while, it's like, you know what, I'm kind of bored. What is it that I can practice that actually would be helpful? Barrett had me, Dominic's had me. What onsides kicks can I do? What kickoffs can I do? Can I chip kick? Well, here's one. How about the laces are bad? How about the ball is bad? How about the ball is being held that wants to be a hooked ball? Can I recognize what it is and correct my swing enough? It's not going to be pretty anymore, but I've been put out here to help the team. And that is my bottom line, is what is it we're doing where we help the team? And Rob, if you're trying to make the varsity team, that is your answer. To Barrett's thing, he got 1 field goal attempt. That is just so common in high school that the high school coaches, they just don't trust that kicking unit. They don't trust you. They don't trust any of that stuff. And they're lured by, I could make that touchdown. And it's like, coach, it's 4th down and 10, and you're on the 11-yard line. How about we put Dominic in the game and kick the field goal? How about we do that? And so these are tricky kinds of things. But that's some of the stuff that I'm trying to do. Dominic, I haven't had you say anything. Are you around? Do you have any questions or what's happening at Carthage?
No. To add on to what you said, the like couple of punters here, we throw bad snaps to each other.
Sure.
To work on fielding them.
Yep. That's a great drill, right? And you know, and occasionally you'll get the one. I got one. I had a fantastic snapper. I was the kicker and punter, and he could bring it sort of NFL speed, and that was great for me as a punter. Until the day he got excited and snapped it about 30 yards over me, and so I had to run back and realize there are guys going to chase me down. The good news is, if that ever is you, just realize defensive guys are stupid. And so they go for where the ball is, not where I was going to punt it from. So I was able to pick up the ball, turn around to the right side, and hit off kind of a rugby punt and end up getting like an extra 20, 30 yards out of the deal instead of losing all of that. But because I'd love to have film, because it would have been like a matador. They would have just olayed. They would have just gone right past me. How are you doing at Carthage? Are you kicking JV games? Or you've gotten to varsity? What's happening for you?
Yeah, so I've been kicking for JV. I know you saw I had a 44-yard field goal.
Yeah, that was awesome. Love it.
Yeah, you know, I think big part of it is just, you know, I'm just getting stronger. You know, like high school, I think, you know, like a 45-yard ball, that was probably my max.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I'd really have to push for that. Now it's like 45-yard ball is, you know, it's kind of there.
Yeah. And what I would tell you, what I tell all of you guys, is back to that, you know, this pick and zone thing that I keep preaching. And it's true of every level. So from high school, from JV to high school to college to pro, it's where is it that you are the most effective? And, you know, so here they are in the pros today, and they've got to really, I mean, those almost all the pro guys can go to 60, but they can at Lambeau today, and the coaches aren't going to put them in today. Now making a 55-yarder, and if I don't know if you saw the first part of that game, we'll get out of here, but Brandon McManus has got a huge leg, and the Packers would have had a 56-yard field goal right there at the start, and they went for it on 4th down and won instead of kicking the field goal, because it's like, you know what, a lot can go wrong, and the Lions are going to get the ball where we miss it from. And so they didn't do that. And Brandon McManus, I believe, missed one from from 44, that wind is strong, all those kinds of things. The more that you can really understand better, where's it that I'm solid, you know, and don't overcommit. So if Dominic, let's just say your max might be 52 now, but you are solid from 45 and in, then just get really, really good at 45 and in. Know that you can go to 52 and keep doing the things to get stronger, better hip turn, more flexibility, all that stuff that gives you more distance. And to Barrett, I'm going to come back to you, even if the dogs are barking. So what's your plan? You've been kicking? Are you going to kick in college?
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
We
What I
have
would say-
two different plans. He may end up at the University of Alabama,
I'm not kicking there.
so he's probably
Okay.
not going to kick there.
That's going to be a tough one.
But he may end up at the Air Force Academy,
Oh, wow.
and I think he should walk on. I think he should try out.
It,
If I went there, I would definitely try out. I don't know the chances of making it because there's still
Yeah.
D1 kickers.
I'll give you two quick things. So one, I tried to get the Air Force Academy. You know, you got to get one of your state senators to give you the nod.
Yep.
And so I went through the process and I was really intrigued. And what I will say to you is this. So I was really intrigued, but then they said, you know, you got to give us 6 years after. And to me as a kid, it feels like that's forever. I'm here to tell you after that fact, 6 years is nothing. So if it really starts to feel good to you, I would encourage you to do so. And that campus, I don't know if you've been out there, is like Disney World. It is awesome. And I will also say this, if you are interested to walk on and try out, you could do so. You need to get a hold of the coach. You got to get your button gear and keep working over the winter. There are going to be some really, really good kickers out there. And what I would say to you is, I don't know that you will be the guy who would kick it the furthest of any of those guys. But as we talked about that kick and zone stuff, if you're good here's Dominic at Carthage. If his max was 45 yards, but he's good all the time at 45 yards, Dominic's the varsity kicker. If a Rav is kicking at down in Texas and he wants to be the varsity kicker, and I'll bet down there at his school, he's probably got a guy who can go 50 plus. I don't know if a Rav can. I'm gonna pick on a Rav, and I haven't even seen him. Okay, but
You
I'm
definitely
gonna say,
can.
let's say a Rav that you can't, but you're not consistent at all at that, and so let's say Rob can only go to 35 yards. But if 35 yards is good, your coach is going to put you in the game. You're going to be the guy. We got to convince the coach that, so if it was 35-yard kick minus the 10, that's 25, minus the 7, that's the 18-yard line. So if this ball is at the 18-yard line and in, Arav, you're telling me this is what I call the K zone. At 18 and in, coach, we should be kicking. So here's Barrett. Barrett, we did some of that drill, and I think we said it was like 15, 18, somewhere in there. And so typical of high school coach. Barrett gets one chance, makes the field goal. Good for him. But no other chances during the whole season. Really? Really, coach? And I don't know if that's your coach or not, but that's so typical of every high school coach.
And it was at the beginning of the season too that he made it.
I think for the most part, it was just our type of team. Usually we didn't like, we never even were on fourth down in the end zone. We either stalled out by the 30-yard line or got in the end zone.
You know, I tell the story, one of my counselors who's kicking at Utah River Falls, kicked at a little tiny school in Wisconsin. I want to say like 100 kids in the school, Northwestern, and it's up by Superior. And for Arav, that's like as far north as you can go in America without going to Alaska. And he was the first team all-state kicker a number of years ago because he was like 56 for 56 in PATs, and he would kick off touchbacks all the time. But I don't think I'm not sure in his high school career if he ever kicked a field goal because his team just scored touchdowns, touchdown after touchdown. It's like somebody's got to take a knee on like the 5 just so I get the chance, you know? So anyway, hey, I've gone long here. I want to cut this off, but I appreciate all of you being on the call. This will go on to that school. I really encourage you to get back onto that school site, there's just a lot of stuff that's going on, and we're adding more people as we go. I'm looking to build this to 1,000 kids or more, and parents and coaches and scouts and all that stuff. And so you guys are in the Coach Farley secret on this thing that you guys can be alert to is you're going to be lifetime free members for forever. But at some point in time, I'll probably charge a fee, and maybe I can make money like Donald Delahaye does, right? But at the short term here, I'm looking to add so much value to kids and being able to become that varsity kicker for both their for their JV, for their high school, and then for their college. And if at that time you're making the big money and you want to go see Coach Zauner, highly recommend Coach Zauner. But he's going to charge you a few bills if you go and see him, and he's going to make you pay for your own flight. So be wary of that. But nonetheless, that's what we'll do here today. We'll call it quits, get back to the Packer game or the Monday, or is it Sunday night football game? I'm not sure who's playing tonight. Who is it?
Vikings Colts.
Vikings Colts. Well, I like Vikings on that one, but we'll see. A couple of good kickers in there too. All right. Hey, have a great weekend. Have a great week. Hope to see you back in school, in kicking school, that is, this week. And if you're still in playoffs and still kicking, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.